Hello, this is your friendly, smiling host, me, Delingpod, with a guest. That's a clue. He's a guest, not a special guest. Before I do that, I just wanted to give you a heads up about a very special event on the 7th of April, which is a Sunday, at 11:30 in the morning in London. This is a live podcast I am doing with Brendan O'Neill. How exciting is that? So I really hope you can come. At the moment, can I tell you, the sodding, what are they called? Romaniacs. The Romaniacs podcast has got about twice as many guests as me. I suppose it's because they're Londoners and everyone in London voted for Remain. But there must be some of my people, my homies in London or near London, able and willing to come and see my event with Brendan on 11:30 on Sunday the 7th of April. You can find the details at podcastlive.com. Also, I'll be putting it up on my website, delingpoleworld.com. So please come and you'll get to meet me and Brendan and lots of other special friends, I would imagine. See you there. Bye. Welcome to the Delingpod, and I'm so excited about my guest this week. There's a clue there. It's Dick.
Hello, I'm back.
He's back.
First appearance on the Delingpod.
Is it?
Well, yeah, not since it's been the Delingpod.
Oh, should we let that dog in?
Yeah, go on.
Go on,
She
okay.
better behave herself.
Yeah,
though.
she bloody well better. Or
Take a leaf out of my dog's book.
Or she's going to be dog meat, that's for certain.
Hello, Daisy.
Yeah.
Yes, you're
Dogs
very
are
nice.
becoming a bit of a feature of our podcast, aren't they, Dick?
Well, I think they humanise us, don't they?
Oh, what you mean? Like Hitler was humanised
by his love of dogs. The people say he might have done some bad things, but he loved animals.
But what was Hitler's dog called?
I don't know.
I'm going to guess Schmutzi. It's completely random. I think.
Why Schmutzi?
That sounds German. It sounds kind of
Schmeisser.
Schmeisser would be a good one.
Kommen Sie her, Schmeisser.
Yes, because that would explain why the MP40 got that nickname.
Right, because they named it after Hitler's
Because
dog.
I imagine that his SS bodyguard at the Wolfschanze would have got to hear him saying Schmeisser, Schmeisser, and they'd have thought,
How do we flatter the Führer?
I know, we can name our effective machine pistol after his
It's
dog.
an interesting theory.
Interesting theory. If only we could check with Andrew Roberts or some.
I'm sure our listeners will let us know.
Yes, I'm sure they will.
So anyway, you find me in angry mood,
I'm so
and
glad
I
I
know
did.
you wanted to stick a microphone under my nose while I'm still relatively seething.
Tell us both of them. Tell us why you're angry.
I've had to drive down from Worcester today to see you
To be
in
here.
rural Northamptonshire. So it's a fair old drive. And what do you do in the car? You have to listen essentially to the radio, don't you?
You do if you're like us, and you've got crappy old cars with old-fashioned radios. I mean, I'm dreaming of the moment where I can afford a car new enough to have the wireless apparatus, which will enable me to play things like on Spotify.
Yeah.
That would be good, but I can't do that yet.
You and I are nearly always behind the curve on the tech front. So it's through the airwaves, Radio 4 for me. So what did I have to listen to as I was leaving Worcester? The Now Show. Yep. The appalling Now Show.
The Now Show.
I had to give it a chance. I had to listen through to comedian after comedian. Obviously, I use that term advisedly.
Tell our American special friend what the Now Show is.
The Now Show is an attempt at a sort of a topical panel show with comedians. And inevitably, the diversity is very important for the BBC. That is diversity of the race of the people taking part, not diversity of thought, mind. So certainly no diversity when it comes to opinions on Brexit, conservatism, anything like that. As long as they tick the boxes for racial diversity, they're happy that they've got diversity of opinions.
It is one of my beefs, one of my many beefs, as you'll hear in a moment, with the BBC, is that they provide these sinecures for these really unfunny left-wing comics who would... the BBC promotes their careers, and the BBC has massive outreach. It's got so many TV channels and radio. I mean, something like 90%, I think, of people or maybe 95% of people in Britain are exposed to the BBC at some time during their week.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of reach they've got. And these crappy, unfunny lefty comedians have this cushy number.
Yeah.
BBC promoting their careers, promoting their gigs, to give free publicity.
Yeah.
And the right-wing ones don't get a look in.
Well, the Now Show is one of the places where they are nurtured and hang out, and the new upcoming so-called talent is given a chance. And it was... I really had to turn it off, or I was just going to crash. It had to go off. So a little bit later, I saw it was time for the news, so I put the news on. At least you can sort of sift through the news.
No, you can't. BBC News is just lies and propaganda.
Yeah, but... I put it on anyway.
It's all about the curation, isn't it?
And then immediately after, it was Any Questions. So you've been on Any Questions.
I've been on about 5 or 6 times.
And you kind of live in hope that there's going to be someone on the panel that you won't be screaming at when they voice their opinions. But this panel was particularly bad. The most right-wing person they could come up with was Ian Dale. And
Ian's sweet, but he's not very right-wing. Not really.
He was just talking about how he would never have Gerard Batten on his show because he's too much of an extremist. I will never have Tommy Robinson on my show.
Yeah, right.
And it's sort of like, well, you weren't invited onto that show to virtue signal your left-wing credentials. And one by one, whatever issue there was, obviously the big news was the massacre in New Zealand, and one by one they had to queue up to condemn it in the strongest terms and say how awful Islamophobia is. But there was no straying from...
Well, there was no nuance. Having been in that situation, having been on the BBC, you know that you have no option, if you don't want to die, that is, in front of the audience. You have no option but to say these safe lines about, it's a given, isn't it, that everyone thinks it's like the most horrible thing.
You could tell by the audience reaction. I mean, they got on to Brexit. Someone suggested that the misattributed quote to Einstein, the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing, expecting a different result. Yeah. Should Theresa May listen to this? Oh, ha, 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 ha. And one by one, they came out with the same line. Essentially, they were all Remainers, and they would love to see Remain happen. And every time anyone suggested that, big applause from the audience, who they have to keep on stressing are completely self-selecting and they're not biased, blah, blah, blah. And then finally... the question was this kiddie climate change march. So this little girl.
Let me guess. I bet they all thought it was a complete waste of time. And that it was no.
Well, no. In a word, there was a little girl saying, "I am a little girl, and I have just been on the climate march, and I would like to ask the panel." Why they are all fighting over Brexit when if they don't do anything about the climate change emergency, there will be no food.
Is that true?
Yeah, well, food absolutely will stop being... I don't know.
How long? In like 5 years?
It was just obviously accepted as being fact because 12-year-old girl says so. But it was... The first one on was sort of, oh, well done, Katie. No, really, Katie... well done, waiting for that audience applause, which inevitably happened. And then one by one, all the panel said how wonderful she was, how appalling it was that the government weren't doing more to fight climate change.
Kids are great.
They're so wise.
They're lovely.
They're lovely.
They have a wisdom. It's kind of wisdom in ignorance, isn't it?
It's lovely that they know more about climate change than the founder of Greenpeace. I think that is quite something.
It is. Yeah, I think you're talking about Patrick Moore rather than
who is being quoted by Trump lately, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
Trump retweeted one of his things with the comment, "Well, how about that?"
No, He's our emperor troll still. He knows how to wind up the left.
Yeah, he obviously featured regularly on the Now Show. It was sort of like, and hang on, we're 5 minutes in and no one's mentioned Trump. Oh, there it is.
Do you remember it? It was just like this with Ronald Reagan.
You know what, though? We swallowed it as kids at that time because it was assumed, well, that he only became president because he was a film star, which none of us had heard of anyway, but not being American. And then it was that he was obviously a bumbling idiot because Spitting Image made him out to be like that.
And because he was an actor. He was a cowboy.
And there was never any positive coverage of his actual politics. It was always caricature and ridicule. And you're right, they treated him in exactly the same way as they treat Trump. Perhaps not as badly, but it was only in later years that I found out what an amazing President Reagan actually was.
Which makes me wonder. I'm reading this fantastic book at the moment on the BBC by somebody called David Sedgwick. And he just takes it apart.
What's the book called? Because I think he sent me a copy as well.
Oh, has he? What, by accident?
No, he spoke to... Why would it be an accident, someone sending me a book?
What I don't know. Do you read books?
Occasionally.
I always had you down as the arty type, Dick. The guy who's good at drawing excellent pictures of soldiers available on cigarette...
Available as a full set of cigarette cards if you visit...
Can we just pause for a commercial break here? Your cigarette cards, I have to say, and I'm not saying this as a kind of stooge or whatever, or the mark or whatever he's called, the person who accidentally plugs your product out of stupidity. Your soldier cigarette card series is absolutely fantastic.
Well, they've really... taken off in a way I wasn't expecting them to, but you spend your life
it goes viral.
Well, yeah, but it's the unexpected way in which I used to paint big canvases, as you know, and someone pointed out to me. In fact, my good friend Jonathan Miles Lee, who does amazing paintings of stately homes. He's going to be on the podcast. Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So if you're listening on people, special listener on a computer, have a quick Google of Jonathan Miles Lee. He does...
Miles with a Y.
Myleslea, double-barreled. He said you should be doing prints. Don't sell paintings. You get your paintings printed. You can sell them forever. So I started off doing smaller paintings in watercolour, doing what I love, uniform illustrations. And then someone... I may have worked it out myself. I thought they'd make good cigarette cards, and no one does cigarette cards. In fact, most kids don't know what cigarette cards are. You have to explain to them. Anyway.
Well, maybe you should do vape cards, and they might understand.
I did think of calling them vape cards, but to cut a long story short, and I'm afraid I haven't cut it short, but I've done these cigarette cards. There's 25 in the set. There's they're all different military uniforms, and I'm selling a whole set of 24 for a $5.
Yeah, Dick, you are under... charge it. It's just stupid.
Yeah, well, that's what I've done.
There's another member of our family who's also a genius artist who, again, doesn't charge enough for his work, and it's kind of annoying.
Who's that?
Bear.
Oh, Bear.
Yeah.
I was thinking Charlie. I was thinking Charlie is never going to undercharge.
No, Charlie's
certainly a type of artist.
Charlie's red meat capitalism.
Yeah.
No.
I think
Winwood.
The problem with us artists is we are rubbish at selling ourselves.
I know I'm not an artist technically, not a
but
visual
you're in
artist,
the arts world.
But can I just say I'm really, really shit at selling my product. In fact, this is one of the points I wanted to raise. For example, the other day I got an email. I got a series of emails from this guy wanting to give me money for the podcast, and I couldn't get my shit together to tell him which. He was having trouble paying through PayPal. I think I did eventually get my PayPal working so that it can take payments from people, but I didn't. Because I got so overwhelmed with worky events, having to kind of do a Breitbart column here and there and a Spectator column here and there, whatever. I forget to do my money-making housekeeping, and I didn't email back to this guy. I said, "Look, I've done my PayPal account now. You can pay me." So he probably hasn't given me any money, or either that, or he has given me money. I didn't even notice because I'm so shit.
It ends up looking like we don't care and we don't want the money, because I've been doing exactly the same thing with these paintings. A lot of people have been emailing me saying, "No, I really like them all. Can I have the lot?" And I'm overwhelmed and I end up sort of not even contacting them. So a message to all of our supporters in
Yeah.
that respect.
We
Be
love
they
you.
buyers of my work or supporters of you. We are just shit at the whole money side
Yeah,
of things.
and we do need the money because
Boy, do we need the money.
we're kind of indigent and we're struggling. Yeah, so I don't know how to resolve this one, Dick. I suppose what one needs is some kind of
Manager. Yeah, a wrangler.
Because when I interviewed Charlie Kirk on a couple of weeks ago, by the time you listen to this podcast, have you listened to the Charlie Kirk
No,
one
I
yet?
haven't. I
Okay.
listen to them as they come out.
Okay.
Right?
Oh well, you Charlie Kirk, you haven't yet, so you won't be able to comment on it, which is kind of annoying.
Well, when did you put this one out?
Quite recently.
All right. Okay.
But even so, I'm not sure that's an excuse. It was not. I think at the time of broadcasting this, recording it rather, we're talking about maybe 2 days you've had to listen to it and you failed. Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
But anyway, Charlie Kirk has a PA or has a girl who comes with him, and she organises him, and we creative types are just absolutely rubbish at organising ourselves.
Yeah, I mean,
because
actors have agents, artists have agents, but what do journalists and I don't know what I am.
I do have a theory on
kind of
this.
an
I
artist.
think the things that make us good at what we do are also the things that stop us being good at making money and
I
organising.
think
Because
that's
if we
right.
had that kind of brain, that would be accountants, wouldn't we? Or I don't
Well, it's
know.
why you won't make a politician, because you keep on speaking your mind.
Yes.
That sort of thing.
I'm so off the idea of becoming prime minister.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint the nation here. It's not going to happen.
You'd pretty much be one of the worst prime ministers ever, though.
I wouldn't actually.
No, because you'd have lots of people helping you.
Well, what I'd do first of all is I would.
If you were the ideas guy, things would be fine. But you'd have to have some really serious support.
No,
wouldn't
because
you?
I would sack the cabinet office, and because I think those are the people that do all the kind of the nuts and bolts stuff.
Are they the kind of yes minister sort
think
of
so.
people pulling
I
the
think
strings
so.
type thing?
I think they're evil leftists. And what I would do, obviously, I'd
Drain the swamp.
I'd say I'd sack them, but what I'd probably do actually is have them follow me ritually in chains through.
Right.
I have a parade through the city of London.
Game of
And
Thrones style.
they'd be in
shame,
cages
yeah.
and with lions probably following them, and then I'd take them into the city dungeons where they'd be ritually strangled. I think that would be
Okay.
just to signal the regime had changed, and
And I like the sort of nod to ancient Rome as well, the ritual strangling. It's
Interestingly, again, this is a podcast that you haven't listened to yet because I haven't even put it out yet. The Helen Dale podcast, which precedes this one. Helen knows lots and lots about. She's got the Latin and the Greek. She should have been a judge, and in fact, she did train to be a lawyer. But she ended up writing novels instead, set in a kind of alternate universe where...
I've got one. It's the next thing I'm going to read.
okay.
Because I won her little competition where she was like the 100th person to respond gets a free copy, and it was me.
It's a
and
small
everyone
world.
said fix, but it wasn't. So I'm looking forward to reading that.
I can't remember what interesting facts she told us about Rome, but anyone who listened to the podcast would know about it. Anyway, we were talking about how the Romans were big on friendship and big on courage, not so good on compassion. That came from Christianity. I'm not sure what relevance that has to anything we're saying. Let's move on to what? What were we talking about before I digressed?
I can't remember. I was racking my brains
That's
for
annoying,
what
isn't
we'd
it?
leapt onto the
I'm
cigarette cards
I'm
for.
so annoying,
Yeah?
aren't I?
Because
I'm
you
my own
know how
worst
this
enemy.
works? As a listener, because I listen in,
Yeah.
the meanderings are all well and good, but if you do remember what was deviated from, you're still waiting for that thread to be picked up on. And so when it goes, I think people have got to accept that when it's you and me, the meandering is everything. It's sort of that you are never going to get back to the main part of that river. It's
That's
gone.
awful.
Yeah.
Oh no.
We could, seeing as we were talking about previous podcasts,
yeah. Let's do it. Let's do
a
it.
quick flick back through, because I do go to the trouble of writing down the last 10.
I still think, Dick, actually you ought to be my office
Well,
manager.
I could do it if I had nothing else to do with
Yeah.
my life, but I have a day
I
job,
know.
which is fairly tedious but rather important financially for me. Anyway, we're going to digress again. The last one I listened to was Tommy Robinson Part 3. Now, you can still not even say his name without ducking for cover.
I'm so annoyed about this. And tell you what else I'm annoyed about. After recording the podcast with him, I went to his court case.
I thought you might have done.
Against he had an action against Cambridgeshire Constabulary.
Yeah.
And because the story goes 2 years ago, and he filmed all this on his.
I've seen the video
on his iPhone. Okay, so he's in the pub after this match at an away match of Luton Town at Cambridge, and he's with his kids. And the reason he's gone there with his kids is that he doesn't get much quality time with his kids. So the football match is a really great moment in his life, where he can bond, and he takes his 3 young kids, and then he goes to the pub afterwards, and the police, Cambridge police, spot him, and say, "Oi, you can't be here. Let's be having you. Let's be running you out of town." Now, on paper, or if you listen to Tommy's account, it sounds awful, and it looked bad on. It seems fairly clear to me that Cambridge police picked on him. That they were sort of virtue signaling, if you like. They were because I think there is a sort of SJW tendency within the police.
Yeah, I mean, you speak to a lot of police, and I've got police friends, and they hate it. They hate the.
But I'll bet there's 1 or 2.
Oh, of course, and they're going to be given a lot of support, and they're probably the ones that get promoted.
Anyway, I think the long and short of it is, I think probably it was unfair what happened to him, but. When I interviewed him, I said to him, he told me about all these lawsuits he was bringing, and quite a few of them. It's going to be quite expensive and time-consuming, I would say. And he told me about this Cambridge case coming up, and I said, "Have you got a case?" Meaning, are you going to win this one? Because actually, there's no point going to law unless you're going to win.
Yeah.
He was offered, I think, a £10,000 out of court settlement by Cambridge,
what he's been saying.
Cambridge police.
But
Well,
he wants the confession rather.
So
than,
do you know what he's done?
What?
He's gone and lost £38,000. He lost his case. He had to pay the costs. Pay the costs. No, 38,000.
38. Oh, right. Okay.
Pay the costs of Cambridge police because they had a very good lawyer. And as you would when you're using the public's money to pay for your brief. Anyway, I went to the case the first day of it, and it was shambolic. It was just embarrassing. His barrister was really not on top of it. The defence barrister for the police was much more effective and had much more of a rapport with the judge. Tommy wound up both the judge and the police's defence counsel by sort of grandstanding, by not answering the question, but by digressing. And I was thinking, look, Tommy, even those of us who sympathise with your position are looking at this and going, you should never have brought this case. It was not strong enough. If you're going to demonstrate to the judge's satisfaction that Cambridge police are lying in this case, and that they fitted you up and they abused your human rights, then boy, the onus on you is to demonstrate this beyond reasonable doubt to the court. He didn't do that. He hadn't even read his own brief. Get that? He had not even read the documents in which he would describe what his case was and his statement. He'd not read it.
Right.
This is not a good look in a court case. The judge doesn't go, "Oh, well, bless."
Yeah.
You know, Tommy, you're a working class lad. I wouldn't expect. You're thinking this is a really shit case that you're presenting, and your barrister should never have allowed you to do this. Your solicitor should never let you do it. You've just gone and lost 38,000, well, more. You've blown it. So,
well, there is a theme with Tommy that, to some extent, he is his own worst enemy.
Well, he admits that.
Yeah,
he admits that. Where I am on Tommy, as I think I intimated in the interview, I find it an absolute pain having to go and listen to Tommy, because it instantly makes you look like you're some kind of evil agent of fascism and Islamophobia and stuff. And that's not the reason I'm doing it. I just think this guy needs a fair hearing. We give fair hearings to far, far worse
Yeah.
people than Tommy Robinson, and yet somehow the establishment has found it convenient to label him as Emmanuel Goldstein.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's Tommy Robinson, and people. I don't really want to talk any further about it because I'm actually sick of talking about Tommy Robinson. Number one,
It's great that you do that though, because there are precious few semi-mainstream journalists who
there's almost nobody.
Who gives them even a fair hearing.
Yeah.
So before him, there was Imam of Peace. Now you
couldn't get a more of a contrast there, could you? From Tommy Robinson to a Shia cleric. He's an actual imam.
I didn't realise how much they had to go through to become an imam. I mean, that's quite a... You don't just drop into it. It's not like doing a correspondence course in theology, is it?
No.
You're not going to get that from the Open University after a couple of years' study. It's kind of like...
And he's a particularly high-end imam as well. And are they called hafizas? People who've memorised
the entire Quran.
The Quran. He was handpicked by the Iranian elite, the Shia elite, for this role. You really couldn't go much higher. He was their golden boy. And wasn't it an amazing podcast?
Yeah, fantastic. And it ended so very brilliantly. That the last line, is it true that you get 72 virgins? He said, yes, it's true, but I'm not into that. And he said, why on earth not? What am I going to do with 72 virgins?
He's good. Sometimes you sit in front of a podcast guest. Not today, unfortunately, but you're sitting there thinking, this is gold. I cannot believe that these golden words are entering my Heil microphone and going into my tape
Just
recorder.
doing a sort of Tim Henman air punch type sort of...
I mean, why Tim Henman?
Because he does this Tiger Tim thing.
Oh, does he?
It was... Oh, yeah. I'm glad we won't be seeing any more
that's
of that.
what I was. That's what I was doing. I was doing pathetic little tiger. That's just what I was doing. Thanks, Dick. So anyway, it was a great podcast. And I'm glad you enjoyed it, because I did.
Before that, there was Lyme Special, which won't be for everyone, but one of the many lost causes that you've adopted over your...
Well, not willingly, I have to say.
No, these
not
things find you,
deliberately.
like climate change and Tommy Robinson.
It does seem,
one
Dick,
of the things that is never going to make you money. It's never going to make you popular, but you've kind of made them your own. And I know Lyme found you rather than you finding Lyme, but there will be a lot of people out there wanting more information on Lyme, because they're not going to get it from the NHS.
Do you think we ought to brand this podcast Delingpod, the home of lost causes?
Yes.
It sounds pretty much like it is. I did not want to get bitten by a bloody tick, and it's really annoying that I've had decades probably of ill health and weirdness, and actually mental illness. Just that's the weirdest part of life. I don't think it... Does it affect everyone that way? I think it affects all manner of people in all manner of different ways. But definitely,
we've got it in my family now. I don't want to go too much into that,
No.
but you know how it's affecting my family, and it's taken us in different ways. But we are on top of it, and through your journalistic endeavours, the alternatives to going through a woeful NHS system with Lyme disease are now more known about. So, you've done a great service, even though you're probably never going to get any appreciation for it.
It's quite good being a journalist with Lyme disease, in as much as you can write about it, research it first, then write about it, and then be the beneficiary of all manner of correspondence from all around the world.
This is the good bit, isn't it?
I've become like Lyme Nexus, so I know much more about Lyme than 99.99% of doctors certainly within the NHS or in any of the conventional medical circles.
The thing about
US
doctors who don't know much about Lyme, rather than admit that is the case, they will tell you haven't got it because they're doctors, and it's much easier to say no, it's not that, than it is to say it's possibly Lyme, but I don't know much about Lyme.
Yeah. One of my life lessons has been everyone is more shit at their job than you imagine they would be. So MPs, way more shit at their job than you imagine they would be.
Oh God, and how?
Doctors, way more shit at their job than you imagine they would be. Lawyers, well, they're a bunch
judicial
of
system in general.
Yeah, and on it goes. Nobody
Teachers,
journalists even. Teachers, really a bit thick. I mean, not obviously not special friend teachers listening to this podcast.
Obviously not. They've got taste.
They're brilliant. I mean, they're absolutely really clever. I love them.
Our special teacher friend, singular.
We're going to do Catherine Birbalsingh.
She isn't on the list because I think she fell into the gap between the Breitbart podcasts and Delingpod. I think she might have been
all I know,
the first one that you did that was just a YouTube thing.
When I went to Catherine Birbalsingh's school, the Michaela School, which you can do. You can apply to the school and say, I want to come and visit your school.
Yeah.
And this is a school which has the same intake as any inner city school. So the kind of school where normally you would have X-ray machines for the knives, people would be duking each other in the corridors and lots. I mean, mostly not white kids. We're talking girls in hijabs. We're talking black kids. We're talking. I think there was one middle class white kid in the whole school, and Catherine sort of talked about this. We've got one middle class white kid.
The one whose parents didn't manage to get out in time.
No, I think
because I fled Hackney when
it's not in Hackney. It's by Wembley.
In the same way.
Oh, I see.
We left Hackney when the kids were at sort of school age. As a well-recognised flight of the white middle classes when they have kids from inner city areas.
It makes unless you've got money to go private, it makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
So you go to the school and you walk down the corridors, and all the classroom doors are open, and you can hear a pin drop, and the classes are conducted in absolute silence, save for the voice of the teacher imparting knowledge and telling the kids stuff, not waiting to hear their point of view unless he or she invites them to give their point of view. It's extraordinary. The discipline. It is like a combination between a Trappist monastery and Marine boot camp. It's that's sort of.
It sounds bloody brilliant.
It's amazing.
Well, pretty much like the education that we would have had. There would have been very little talking back from us during. Certainly not. You wouldn't interrupt a teacher midstream, would you? Although
it's interesting, Catherine, who talked to me. Can you move your stupid phone? That's what's making the bloody feedback noise.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. When you put the phone nearby, because I haven't got my phone with me, so it must be yours.
Off now.
Okay. Catherine told me about this. She said, "Look, we can't treat our kids in the way that our teachers cannot conduct their classes here in the way that, say, a teacher at Eton would." And the reason is simply that, well, A, our classes are bigger, and B, the sort of expectations and background of the kids here mean that they need much more discipline and rigour. You can't sort of trust this.
You can't take the discipline as a given as you would with Etonian kids.
No. But not many things give me hope for the future, but the Michaela School and Catherine Birbalsingh are two of the things that give me hope for the future. And also, I think Catherine's kind of hot in a... Yeah. I just thought I'd let...
No, well, thanks for that.
Yeah,
no,
she's
I think
great.
you're right.
She's great.
I can see where you're coming from on that, certainly. Yeah. Talking of hot, you had Lauren Southern on.
Lauren Southern.
Well, there you go. That was a good segue, wasn't it?
But I can't lech after Lauren Southern quite so much because Catherine is nearer my age group,
right,
whereas Lauren, it's not quite pedo because she's 25,
right?
But it's probably, I'm not. If I came on to her, I'm not sure it would be dignified. But she was great. She was good, and she's funny, and she's another cause for hope that there are people like that out there. And she's another of those people, a bit like you and me, who didn't really. You know who we are? We are Bilbo Baggins in Lord of the Rings.
Well, who does that make me? Sam?
You probably are Sam.
Oh God!
No, Sam's he's loyal.
I know I'm loyal, sir, but I'm also a bit stupid.
Well, that's true. But there it is.
Have you eaten your elven sandwiches? I think I dropped them down the mountain.
Actually, I have to say, Sam, that was one of your more annoying moments.
Dropping the sandwiches?
Yeah.
It was a bloody stupid thing
It was
to do.
really stupid.
Yeah.
Wasn't that when the spider was about to get me?
Yeah, well, I think that was a little bit later, but it was when they were climbing that cliff.
But listen, your loyalty has been great, so...
Great.
You just distracted me again.
Well, shall we move back another step to
yeah.
the next guest,
Yeah.
Stefan Molyneux?
So you see, Dick, this was just a coup. It was like
He's a major name.
I went to Brussels and invited by the MEP Janice Atkinson, who's very good news, by the way. And I must have her on the podcast, actually. And it was like a gathering of supervillains.
Yeah.
There was Katie Hopkins. I went because I'm crap.
I can just hear the BBC audience booing with every one of these names.
Because I'm crap, I didn't look to see who was going to be there before I went. I mean, this information was available to me. I couldn't be asked to.
A bit like Tommy Robinson and his brief.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't read it.
Yeah, but at least it's not going to cost me £38,000 plus
not.
my own council's expense.
Right.
So I went out to Brussels and I went to the drinks party in the evening, and actually my jaw did almost hit the floor. So there is Stefan Molyneux, and who obviously I hadn't seen before except in pictures on the internet. Katie Hopkins. There was Anne-Marie Waters for Britain.
Yeah. Who you have had on.
I've had on the podcast. There was the Imam of Peace in all his regalia. And I went, oh my God, it's the Imam of Peace. Lawrence Southern, just when we had such
Is that
fun.
where Sargon was as well?
No. Sargon was a different occasion.
Okay.
And it was great bonding with all these people. Like Katie Hopkins went out one night to a hookah bar, not a hookah bar, a hookah. Hookah, smoking caterpillar. Went to bar with the Imam of Peace.
Right.
And he's a lad.
This sounds like the first line of a really good joke.
He's such a lad.
Yeah.
And Katie actually, she's got this kind of brittle manner in forthright when she's making documentaries and stuff. But in real life, she's an absolute sweetheart. She's so nice. People won't believe that. They just want to think she's a witch and they want to burn her. No, actually, maybe they don't. Not in this special space.
No, I think you'll find mostly fans and Delingpod listeners. Before that, it was Lance Foreman.
Lance, he's great.
I can't remember what he did.
Lance, the oldest salmon smokery in Britain.
Oh right, yes.
Know, he's one of the chosen, and you know my views on the chosen people. Like
Uish.
I mean, I think I'm the world's most Jewish Gentile, and so I'm always bonding with. And he was sound as a pound.
He was very much so.
Absolutely, and he's got a very clever boy too,
Yeah.
Oliver. Oliver is now running Turning Point UK.
Ah, right.
So everything connects. Only Connect. Do you watch that, by the way?
What, Only Connect?
Yeah.
I know I would like it. I shall probably have to get onto it.
It's very good. It's very good. And I'll tell you what, one of the things that's good about it, it's one of those rare spaces in the world. Is it on the BBC? It is on the BBC, isn't it? It's one of those rare places which is somehow immune from politics. Given that she's married to a lefty comedian and presumably her politics are quite lefty herself, she's very benign and neutral and nice and fun. And the questions are genuinely challenging. I actually turned...
Maybe you should explain the concept of the show for our American friend.
That's the work of a whole podcast thing. It's very complicated. You've got
I've
the horned viper, twisted flax. No, it's too... The rounds
you've completely lost me.
The rounds have names after hieroglyphics. The questions are very, very obscure. No, it's not. It's too complicated to explain. It's a good quiz show, and I'll tell you how I've started getting into it by giving up on University Challenge.
Right.
You know, the University Challenge used to be the program in the week that I would absolutely watch without fail. It was the one thing that I would not miss. Mm-hmm. And then do you know what happened?
It went SJW.
It went woke. What happened was that the questions started being altered to take into account contemporary woke values. So they tried to make it more gender balanced. So they tried to start introducing more questions about where the answer was a woman. Mm-hmm. But there's only about 5 women from history. There's Boadicea, Elizabeth I.
I was going to say Elizabeth I. We're rapidly running out already. Mary Queen of Scots.
Mary Queen of Scots and Marie Curie. And once you've given those answers, you kind of run out.
Well, it makes life easy though if you just keep those answers up your sleeve, and if you're in doubt, fire
You could
one
certainly
of them
do
off.
very well on today's university challenge. Yeah. So it's a bit annoying, and well, more than a bit annoying because I've pretty much given up watching it.
Rewind again. Sargon was before Lance
Sargon,
Foreman.
you see.
Now, I only relatively recently got into his podcasts, and because I listen to them while I'm working, put my headphones on.
So you can do that.
And yeah, it's a really nice thing to be able to do. And as long as I'm doing visual stuff and not doing stuff involving text, I can hear voices. But otherwise, it has to be music. Music, and I can do writing-y type stuff, but if I'm, say, doing some retouching in Photoshop, I can happily listen to someone like Sargon. And he benefits from having a really lovely talking voice. He's so well-spoken and chilled that, he that makes him very listenable for a start, before you even take into account that he's just so bloody reasonable.
He's very reasonable, and I think it's very impressive the way that he persuades. Well, it's very encouraging actually that he gets lots of listeners simply by talking in long form, what are they called, vidcasts, audio casts or whatever, about issues which require a certain amount of intelligent thought
That can't be just delivered in a single
soundbite.
tweet.
Yeah. No, he's good, and it was a pleasure and a privilege to get him on the podcast. Yeah. The
one before that was, I've got Dutton and Woodley, because I think then we're getting back into the Ireland thing. Would that be right?
Edward Dutton and Michael Woodley of Meany. He's got some sort of complicated title name, right. Woodley of Meany. They've written the most fantastic book called At Our Wits' End. Now, I'm currently trying to, well, I haven't done anything about it, but I'm planning on selling this piece to whoever will be interested in it. I think it's maybe a Mail on Sunday or maybe a Spectator, I'm not sure. It's quite controversial though, in as much as it's about how global IQs are dropping because of the opposite of selective breeding. What's it called? Dysgenics.
Right, but I suppose it can be seen as a tie-in with the fact of that Western civilization is dying. So it's another symptom of that, isn't it?
Well, you see, there is a chapter at the end where they talk about the rise and fall of civilizations, and this is what happens. I can't quite believe that this is true, but they claim it to be so, that even in the Roman Empire, in the latter days, there was a kind of welfarism which enabled the poor, who would previously have been sort of wiped out through starvation and disease and whatever, that it enabled more people of low IQs to go on breeding, and therefore this contributed to the spiral of the downward
decline,
spiral. So it does seem to be what happens in empires as they rise. The kind of the sharper people are the ones whose progeny survive, and so the IQ rises, and then in the dog days of empires, IQs fall, and we all descend into kind of animals. And
I played you last time I visited, didn't I? The Mouse Utopia video that I found online. So if Special Friend wants to Google that one on YouTube,
Mouse Utopia, yeah.
Google it's only like a 10-minute film, and it's from a series called Today I Learned, I think. Very, very good series. Google the time they built a mouse utopia, and it's a very, very telling cautionary tale. I won't say any more about it, but just watch it and make your own conclusion. It's fantastic. But essentially, it's the fall of empires in a 10-minute presentation based on mice.
Before I forget, you remember our Christmas video special? Unfortunately, this is not on video. It's a shame, but we can't have video all the time. Not until we get our audience back. Because I've been so shit at promo.
Yeah.
So bad.
I've been watching your numbers gradually go up, but it's not nearly touching the audience who would have had.
I had gazillions with Breitbart, and you know what? I sent them a couple of emails saying, "Can I have my feed?" and they just didn't reply. And part of me goes, well, I don't want to be beholden to them. And part of me thinks, well, isn't this a form of restraint of trade, that I've built up this audience and you're just denying me if only through your inertia, my audience who are probably wanting to... I don't know what to do about it. I'm not very good at dealing with bosses.
It comes back to this whole sort of artists being crap at selling themselves. But,
yeah.
The one good thing is that they do hang around forever on YouTube. I mean, that's a good thing and a bad thing because, bad stuff hangs around on YouTube forever as well. Yeah. But, people can go back and get your back catalogue, so to speak, with ease.
They can.
If they latch on to a particularly fine guest.
So, what we did was we thanked one of our lovely we love Twist Tea, don't we?
Well, I did a quick tweet for Twist Tea. I felt like I felt like what you said about the Stooge sort of doing the product placement bit, but it's a genuine, nice thing for them to do. They didn't have to do it.
No.
They sent us a load of tea. They sent me a load of tea. They said they love the yes/no game and enjoy our teas. And it has to be said, they're really
A, it's bloody good
tea.
tea, and B, what nice people. They just are... They keep on giving us tea.
Well, what I've got,
fuel the
one
podcast.
of the things they sent was a sign up for a year's supply of tea. So every month I get a new box of tea, a different one each time. I've recently been enjoying their variation on Earl Great, I think it's called.
Oh yeah,
it's really nice.
Well, it's got cheese in it.
Well, no, it's just. No, it's or I think it's called the Real Earl. I forget what it's called anyway. It's
Is it
very
called
nice.
Duke of Earl?
No, it's not called Duke of Earl. No.
Duke of
Earl. It's not. It's not called Duke of Earl.
Okay.
But maybe they will.
Because that would have been good. Because we could have done Duke of Earl together had it been
a
cappella.
Yeah, that's never going to happen.
But
now.
so
Twist Teas.
While
check
thanking
them
them
out online and order yourself some decent tea for a change. Stop drinking that rubbish you're drinking.
But also, rather sadly, I got an email from this lovely man called Kurt, who's got a company called Travelling Dukes. That's travelling spelt in the American way with one L. Dukes. Isn't that funny? Dukes. Travelling Dukes, DUKES.com. And he exports from China monk fruit tea.
Right.
And he sent me some of that, and it's really, really nice. It's really sweet, and yet it doesn't do all the bad things that sugar does. It's got a very low sugar content somehow.
How can tea be made out of this monk fruit stuff?
Well, you get little bits of monk fruit in your tea bag.
Is it a herb? Is it like a fruit tea?
It's like a sweet drink,
right?
Which is really nice if you have a sweet craving, but without any of the sugar,
right?
Which is good for me because you
and your Lyme
on my
can't
Lyme
deal with the sugar.
I'm not meant to eat sugar.
Sugar feeds the beast.
Sugar is a no-no. Although I have to say, daughter you had that cake.
Yeah, very nice.
How good was that cake?
I don't think it helps your Lyme that you've got a daughter who is so very good at baking, and your son is a bit of a master baker.
He's going to be gay, isn't he? He's got to be gay. I mean, if you're showing those tendencies, but Bake Off. I think it's had a profound cultural influence on baking. Is now
the new rock and roll.
It is the new rock and roll. Yeah.
Do you want Dick's interesting music facts?
Yeah. Is this a new invention?
Well, we've done it once or twice before.
Dick's
interesting music facts.
By the way, talking of interesting music facts,
are you going to divert me now?
I'm going to. But you've got your page, so you've got your reference. Did you see Roger Daltrey talking about Brexit?
Talking to Sky.
To Sky,
and he was so. He pissed them off so much that they've taken it down.
They took it down. So he was asked by the typical lefty anti-Brexit Sky interviewer how it was going to affect the world of rock. And he said something like, we were fucking touring Europe before Brexit and we're going to be touring Europe after Brexit.
He's brilliant.
What a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. That generation, you see.
Yeah.
His generation.
Were you talking about his generation?
Yeah. I'm talking about...
People do try to put him down.
They do. Yeah.
Because he gets around most of Europe.
Yeah, he does. He gets
Brexit or no Brexit.
He does.
Okay, so Alan Parsons, is that going to start you singing?
I can't remember how the...
I am the eye in the sky.
La, 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 la,
So
la,
Alan
la.
Parsons of the Alan Parsons Project was an assistant engineer on the Beatles' Abbey Road album.
I sort of half knew that because I knew he was a studio
And do you
engineer.
know there was another thing he was on then? What other interesting album has he connected to? He was
Did he
the
play-
engineer on...
Did he play with Bob Holness on the saxophone?
He didn't, no, on the blistering sax solo on Baker Street,
No, he
you
didn't
mean?
do that,
No,
no.
he didn't. He was the engineer on Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
Was he now?
And,
That is quite impressive. Of course, it will sail right over the heads of anyone who's never even heard of Eye in the Sky or the Alan Parsons Project.
Well,
as
it's
they
a
were thinking,
generational thing, isn't it? Any one of our generation would have had that album, surely.
Is it not the best lie ever that Bob Holness played the sax solo on?
Yeah.
And where did it come from?
I don't know. I think it might have been Viz or something like that, but it was just one of those urban myths that just got around. And
You see, urban myths, they could thrive for a very long time. Like my other favourite urban myth, which I hope is true, but I don't think it is, that the Queen's two
the
favourite
Queen one, yeah.
the Queen's favourite movies are Assault on Precinct 13, the original one,
Right.
and
Deliverance.
Deliverance, and that she learned the banjo solo.
She took banjo
Banjo
lessons so she could play dueling banjos.
It can't be true, can it, Dick? It can't be true. Because I did actually...
But this is the thing about the Queen, because she never lets on anything, unlike her dreadful son. We project onto her. We project onto her all our own views, and there's nothing to say she doesn't share those
But
views.
can you imagine how gut-wrenching it would be if you had an audience with the Queen and you thought, I've got to seize this moment. I've got to ask, ma'am, and I'm not supposed to ask you questions. I know it's not form, but please just tell me, did you ever have banjo lessons so you could play the theme?
I think the best
Deliverance?
way to do it would be to be in a room with her and you've got a guitar and you go dum 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 dum, and she has a banjo on her knee and she replies with ding 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 ding.
Oh, that would be just...
It would be a life-changing moment.
It would be a
wouldn't it?
life-changing moment. It's actually worth... We could almost go to the Buckingham Palace now just to
Yeah.
have that experience.
I would learn to play the guitar
Yeah,
again
I-
because we both learned the guitar
Yes,
badly in our
yes.
youth. But just to do
Oh,
that,
yeah.
just to play dueling banjos with the Queen.
Dueling with the Queen.
So that was Dick's interesting music fact.
Is only one.
There's only one per poddy. I mean, it's not gonna. I haven't got enough.
Oh.
But I have got yes no lined up.
You know who I want on the podcast?
You're meant to be more excited about me having a yes no game
No,
lined up.
sorry, I was just thinking...
Well done, Dick.
Well done, Dick. Just holding you on that thing
Right.
before we go there. You know who our secret fan is? Is it the famous fan?
The famous fan?
The famous rock star fan.
Oh, right,
of
yes,
me.
of course, yeah.
I want him
yeah.
on the podcast.
Yes.
I mean, how good would it be?
It would be very, very good. I mean, I've been listening to his stuff since I was at art
Dear
college.
Mr. Fantasy.
Yeah.
There were three men came out of the west.
Brilliant.
Right, yeah, okay.
So
He'd be good.
He'd be very good.
He'd be good.
Now, Dick's interesting film fact.
Oh, yeah, please.
Do you know this one? Where does the line, jumped up pantry boy who never knew his place, come from?
It comes from The Servant.
Who's the star of the film?
It might have been Dirk Bogart or Albert Finney.
It's Michael Caine and Laurence Olivier in Sleuth.
Oh, sorry, so it's not from The Servant. So, okay, yeah. So who delivers that line?
I think Olivier delivers it to Michael Caine
Right.
because he's a jumped up little.
How would you...
upstart
Can
in
you
it.
do an Olivier impersonation?
Well, he's so changeable, isn't he? But I don't think I think in this one he goes, "You're just a jumped up pantry boy who never knew his place." So it's that sort of
Okay, great.
delivery. But of course, it's in the song.
I'm jumped up pantry boy who never knew his place.
This charming man.
This charming man, yeah, okay.
Right. Launching into the yes no game.
Yeah.
Right.
Straight in there. There's no...
Now, there's a few curveballs in here. There's one or two that may or may not have appeared before. But let's launch into it.
Okay.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
No.
Peter Shilton.
Oh, that's a curveball.
Literally, because he was the England goalie.
England goalie. Is he still alive?
Yeah.
I imagine he's probably great, isn't he?
I think he's a good one. I think why I wrote him down must have been he said something positive about Brexit or something.
Good old goal.
Russell Brand.
Actually, not goal, because that would be bad in his case.
That would be bad in his case, yes.
Save! Yeah.
Russell Brand.
Well, I'm assuming no, although he did interview Candace Owens.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? It's a difficult one with Russell Brand.
He's a sweaty junkie with too much hair. He's shagged too many
much
birds.
Sex.
Yeah. He probably smells, doesn't he?
I shouldn't think his personal
hygiene. Do you think he smells really musky?
I think he's the sort of person who would probably put on a load of perfume instead of washing.
He would patchouli.
Yeah.
He would wear patchouli. Oh, God.
Dear.
Girls probably like that kind of thing.
Well, clearly the amount of sex he supposedly
had. Girls like filthy. This is the thing about this is the thing about girls, that on the one hand they want to pretend that they're all kind of pure and clean, and that men are these unwanted advancing things that rape them and stuff, and at the same time present them with a kind of unwashed smack addict,
dirty beast.
filth.
They're all over him.
Yeah, who smells patchouli. It's so wrong.
So that was Russell Brand.
Yep.
I've got Russell Harty.
He's got to be dead.
I think so, but you can still have a yes or a no.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
I think probably
Oh,
yes.
I see this Russell theme going on. Yes.
Russell Mail.
Oh, I think he's horrible, isn't he? Or is he no, who is he?
I'll do a mime for you. This is going to work well for a podcast.
You look like a walrus playing the piano.
I was doing Sparks.
Oh, we like them.
Yes.
Yeah, of course we like. Sorry.
So he's a yes.
He's a yes.
Jolly good. Ken Russell.
Oh, yes.
Probably.
Yes.
You know what? I write these lists so long ago.
I see.
I can't remember why I put the names down.
He did list them. He did Tommy.
We were just singing earlier before we started this pod.
Tommy, can you hear me?
Yeah. Leo Varadkar.
Leo Varadkar.
Who do you think he is?
I don't know, but if I had to hazard a guess, I imagine...
Sounds like a wrong 'un to me.
I think he's some kind of hairless rodent.
Like a blind mole rat.
A blind mole rat. That's exactly what he is.
Right.
Well, not good.
But they're quite cute in comparison.
I think they are related to... There's a similar Canadian species.
Yeah?
Yep.
Right. Okay. So he's a no.
He is such a no that there is not a negative strong enough to express how negative
quite
it is.
Right. And what are Ireland thinking? I mean, I know they have a system where you don't necessarily.
Do you know what
elect
saddens
your
me about Ireland?
Taoiseach, but that's how it's.
Taoiseach.
Is it
It is
Taoiseach?
well done. Yeah. You've got the Taoiseach.
It looks like Taoiseach, but it's pronounced Taoiseach.
I tell you that they annoy me. People who spell their names with Irish names in order to show how bloody Gaelic they are and how not English and how much they hate the English.
Who's the presenter of the week thing? Brian O'Brien. O'Brien. Dara. O'Brien.
Yeah, he's one of them. Yeah.
Mario Kunaszek. You know, Mario Kunaszek. Kunaszek. The Austrian defense minister.
He sounds cool.
Yeah, he came out with some very strong statements
I don't know what he did,
against the EU army. So he immediately went in as a yes.
Well, because...
There's some pretty sound Austrians out there.
Yeah.
Austrians. I mean, they are kind of the foil to everything that's bad about Germany, although there's so much good going on in Germany right now. We know the AfD lot and the people who treated you for Lyme.
Oh, yeah, listen, I love the Germans. I know, Germans are just great. I mean, apart from their politics, apart from Angela Merkel and stuff, but Germans as a people, and they're really all right.
This is kind
as
of
a
why,
folk.
as Brexit gets more and more convoluted and even unlikely, when you just look at the rest of Europe, even Germany, even France, you just think, well, the EU is dead on its feet anyway. Why worry about it? Even if they were to tell us tomorrow that, no, we're sticking with the EU, I'd go, it's all right, because us leavers will get what we want one way or another, because either we leave or the whole thing's collapsing anyway. And, it's a race to the bottom, which is going to happen first.
I didn't hear any of those words, Dick, because I was thinking, I was thinking about something. I was going to ask you, sorry, but you distracted me by mentioning Germany. Do you not think... No, that's not a do not think question. Do you think that in the next war we'll be against Germany or fighting alongside them?
Ooh.
What do you think is most likely?
Because you've now got me thinking in terms of the equipment we'll get if we're with them. Obviously, we'll get really cool tanks. We'll get
will we
Leopards.
Yeah, haven't we got better tanks than Leopards? Isn't Leopard... I mean, I think you're talking about a 1970s tank now, aren't you?
Yeah, but it'll be the Leopard 5 or something like that, won't it?
Upgrade, yeah.
I'm really not up on
German military
contemporary tanks.
No. Who is?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose somebody who works for Jane's Defence.
The thing is,
probably.
It's back to this old tank argument. I mean, are they yesterday's weapon?
Yes, they are.
Yes,
they really are.
It's a shame, though, isn't it?
It is.
Dominic Grieve. This is back to the yes no again. That wasn't a curse.
Do you think
I
think it's no.
No.
In his case,
yes.
Because he's a traitor.
I think they recently gave him the Legion d'honneur, didn't they?
Dominic Grieve and Lionel Barber of the Financial Times. These people are traitors.
Mm.
Yeah.
Nicholas Bowles has resigned from his thingy today for the same sort of reasons as all of resigned from his.
Do you remember Nick Bowles from? You must have when you used to come up and see me at Oxford.
Right.
Do you remember Nick Bowles at parties?
No, I don't.
Oh God, Nick was sort of. He wore dressing gowns. He wore sort of elaborate dressing gowns.
Right.
That was what he sported.
That was his thing.
Some sort of Wickhamist thing.
Right.
And he was very kind of grand and queeny and entertaining.
Right.
That you sort of, here's good old Nick. He gave no intimation of the kind of horrible, ghastly cuck squish.
Well, David Cameron didn't either, did he?
No, that's true. Everyone was hiding their true intentions.
Do you think there were any intentions?
No, I don't. So I don't know what it is that I don't understand what it is that made my generation of politicians go bad.
Mm.
Gove even. It's a mystery.
Gove. What the hell has happened there?
They are really.
Gove's been out in support of the kids going on these climate marches.
It's just like I almost think that Gove's whole career is an elaborate troll of me.
Yeah.
I just think he's.
That's a good theory.
Yeah. Well, what other explanation could there be?
Possession.
Yes, demonic possession is the other one. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds crazy, but
it has happened.
Yeah.
I've seen The Exorcist.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Gove's head spin round yet.
Well, they wouldn't do anything so obvious, would they? Megan Windsor. Has she taken the name Windsor?
I think it's pronounced Megan.
Megan Windsaw.
Megan is going to. You've got to admire her. She's like a kind of one of those missiles, those really advanced missiles that when it locks on,
right,
your destruction is assured, and that's what she's doing to the royal family.
I was thinking more of those things that worm into your feet and give you a disease.
Chiggers.
Yeah,
I've had those.
Yeah,
they're horrible. No, Megan's worse than that, I'd say.
I mean, the rumours are
that
Harry isn't as happy as he has been in the past. Let's say.
It's really sad, isn't it, when your mate or when somebody gets a girlfriend and you want them to.
You all know she's ghastly, but you can't tell them that because they're mates.
Because they'll hate you for it. And
even
then
if you're right.
Yeah, and then she destroys it. It's just that he's living out this for all of us to watch. It's terrible.
A gender-neutral child and
I mean, did she not consult on what the royal family represents before she decided to?
I think she did everything necessary to get in there, and, kept her powder dry, and now she's in, and, sort of...
I wonder what the Queen thinks.
Well, no one will ever know, will they? Because back to what we said about the Queen, she's ultimately discreet.
I'll bet if she were playing her banjo and thinking about this,
Just
She
generally
probably does. She
swimming,
probably, you know what she
picking
probably
away
does? She
at
probably
it.
there's probably a bridge over the D in Balmoral,
Right.
and she sits there with her legs dangling down
Yeah.
with her banjo.
Yeah. The trout nibbling at her toes.
Yeah. Watching canoe parties go underneath.
Yeah.
And she probably thinks about Megan and thinks, shall I just end it all now? Shall I just drop into the river and hope there's not a ghillie around to rescue me? Because is it
Yeah.
really worth it?
Sad, isn't it?
It's really sad, actually, that, if that's true, which I think it is.
Ian McShane.
Yes, I think.
Yes, I
yes,
think so,
Yeah,
yeah,
yes.
This is dating my list. Jussie Smollett.
Jussie, he's great, isn't he?
He's fantastic.
You may have expected me to say no, but actually, I think if you're not being paid enough, it seems to me quite an impressive move to pull.
Yeah.
To pay two guys to beat you up
Yeah.
in order to get a pay rise.
Well, this is when your poison pen letters laced with fake ricin don't work.
Yep.
Obviously, that's your first move
Yeah.
if you're after a pay
Yeah.
rise. Then you get two big Nigerians to beat you up,
But
and
would
then you ask your boss for a rise. I think is the last ditch thing you would do.
do you think I could persuade Breitbart to give me my feedback?
Well, start with the poison pen letter.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Where are you going to find a couple of Nigerians to beat
Yeah,
you
but
up?
what would that prove? Isn't there a rule where you can't be victims of racist attacks if you're white?
Yeah, but maybe you could get.
Maybe if I black up, is that acceptable these days?
I think not just acceptable. I think it's encouraged because they call it racial appreciation.
Is it?
when
Do
you
they?
do that? Yeah.
Okay,
So
good.
take it from me. You can do that. And
We
no
heard it.
one.
Anyone else listening? I
Yeah.
think Dick's a sensitive advisor on these issues.
Yep. Being the sensible brother. Of
Yeah,
the two
yeah,
of
well
us.
done.
Yep. I got Prince Harry, Lily Allen, Keith Allen. I mean, obviously they're all no's.
Oh, don't give me clues. People are going to be special. Special friend.
Well, let's rewind.
Yes.
Prince Harry,
No,
Lily Allen,
no,
Keith Allen.
no.
Keith Allen in Kingsman 2 being fed into a meat grinder.
Yes.
Michael Gove.
Oh, I'm on the horns of a dilemma here. You knew.
Maybe you find the next one easier. Judas Iscariot.
What's he done now?
He's had bad press in the
Okay.
past, but
Yes.
Really?
I think that Jesus has a lot for going back to our conversation earlier about compassion destroying
Yeah.
the Roman Empire
Yeah.
via Christianity.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that Christianity. I know Tom Holland's just written a book about how Christianity's made everything well.
So you're saying Christianity, is it worth saving?
I don't know.
Might somewhat isolate us from our special American friend in that respect.
No, I do like Jesus.
All right.
He
wasn't
said-
on the
he
yes/no
said-
list, but
he said controversially.
if we shove Jesus on the list, does he get a yes?
Dick, I think either you're pro Judas Iscariot or you're pro Jesus. I don't think
Yeah.
you can be
Yeah. Well,
pro.
this is what it's all leading to, isn't it?
Yeah. Although, unless you argue that he was part of the Lord's plan.
Double
Yeah,
bluff. Sort of
yeah.
thing,
So I say yes to Judas Iscariot.
Okay. Well, without him, there would have been no betrayal, no crucifixion.
No resurrection.
Exactly.
No religion.
Yeah. So
No religion too.
just imagine.
Yeah. Imagine.
Yeah, imagine that. Genghis Khan.
Our ancestor.
Is he?
No.
Oh, he's everyone's
He's
ancestor.
everyone's
isn't he?
ancestor.
Yeah. Trick question,
Yeah.
yeah. Sadiq Khan.
He's far worse than Genghis Khan.
I'd take Genghis over.
Take Genghis over Sadiq any
if
day.
Genghis was mayor of London,
Yeah.
he'd sort out knife crime.
He bloody would.
He certainly would.
Yeah.
He'd make it compulsory.
And do you know what? He wouldn't have any problem about Beachbody ready adverts
No.
on the tube.
No.
He wouldn't bother about food adverts.
Oh, the shocking food adverts on the tube.
Yeah.
Pictures of supermarket trolleys with meat in them.
I know.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Kanye West.
He's do you know, I think
He
he's,
regularly appears on the
He
yes/no
does.
because he can change with
he
the weather.
He changes with the weather. I'm not.
Is he a yes or a
I'm
no
not.
right
Do you know
now?
what? He's like the climate change.
Yeah.
Of
Of
his
the
extreme
the
weather.
music world.
I do not know where I am on. I think
Who does?
Is he no?
Does even Kanye know
No.
whether he's a yes
No.
or a no?
No. I think it would be frankly insulting to pin him down.
Right. Okay. Dominic West.
He's actually oddly a yes/no or a no/yes.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to like him, but he keeps on.
He does, but he didn't. Well, I think we talked about this before, so I'm not going to go there again.
Okay. Michael Caine.
Yes.
Absolutely resounding yes.
Yeah.
He's another one of the talking about my generation type things. He keeps on going against the grain that everyone wants him to. He's generally a good egg.
He's just great.
We're nearly there. Nish Kumar. You're looking puzzled. That's good. That's encouraging. He's a popular BBC-based comedian of the Asian persuasion.
Do you know what? I was going to tell you about this.
What?
I am going cold turkey on the BBC.
Right.
I do not want to watch or listen to anything by the BBC ever again. I'd already narrowed it down quite a lot. I'd already realised, you were talking at the beginning about the car journeys, and until such time as I rig up my vehicle so that I'd love to be able to listen to podcasts. I'd love to be able to have...
That's where a lot of our listeners listen to their podcasts. It's an ideal time.
This podcast serves the fact, and it was always its intention, well, pretty much always, was to be the... If you turned on the BBC and it was good instead of shit, this is the programme you'd hear. Mm-hmm. Every programme would be like this. Well, not every programme, but lots of them.
Enough of them to make sticking with the BBC worthwhile.
So I realised that there were only two things I can listen to on the BBC anymore. One of them is Radio 3 most of the time, except even now they've got a thing called you won't know about this, but they've got a thing called Composer of the Week, and it's absolutely brilliant. You just get a straight biography of, say, Bach or Beethoven or whoever, and it's really interesting. And you get excerpts of their works, and you learn stuff, and they've started ruining it now by introducing female composers and things who, it's just like do we care? So there's that, Radio 3, because it hasn't got too much politics in it. And the other thing I listened to was the Sunday night rock show with Daniel P. Carter. And I also like their hip hop show, because again...
What's that on, Radio 1?
Radio 1.
Really?
There's no politics in their hip hop show at all. They're just kind of black people. Well, I imagine they're black. Maybe they're not. Talking about, just rapping. And Daniel P. Carter, the rock show, he doesn't really go into politics either. But everything else is just awful. So I've basically stopped watching and listening to the BBC. I think it's an abomination. I think it's so
this
SJW.
book briefly you were mentioning.
Yeah,
because I think he sent me the copy as well. Is it called Britain Brainwashing Corporation or something like that?
Yeah. I'm going to have him on the podcast.
The thing about it is, it's a great book. It's well researched. It's got some amazing stuff, but it's not going to be read by the people who need to read it. It won't be read by people who love the BBC and see no problem with it. There are people out there who think that the BBC has a bias problem that is right-wing.
Yes, but they are very hard leftist people.
Do you think they genuinely believe that, or do you think they're just saying it just for the sake of balance?
I don't think that...
So they can come out with that old thing of like, well, some people say we've got a bias to the left, and there are people who say we've got a bias to the right. So we think on balance we're doing a good job.
Left-wing people don't use evidence or reason. It's about...
Mafeels.
It's about Mafeels. It's about the narrative. And the narrative says that the BBC is a right-wing entity. Therefore, that's what they believe. But they don't think in the same way that we do. And I do think that there is going to be an increasing... The liberal left is always whining about how everything's becoming more polarised. But the reason everything's becoming more polarised, it's them. They've taken over in Gramsciite fashion. They've taken over the institutions, the publishing, the BBC, Hollywood, everything mainstream. The newspapers. I mean, even the Daily Mail's been taken over.
The health service,
legal service, legal system, everything. So it's no wonder that a bit like the characters in Atlas Shrugged, a bit like the producers. We all bugger off beyond the mountains in Colorado to, what's it called? Galt's Gulch.
Right.
And because we want to opt out of civilization, of their tainted civilization.
I would like one of these people who claim the BBC has a right-wing bias to sit with me and listen to either the Now Show, like I had to put myself through on my journey here, or that any questions rather, and take the points made one by one and say, what do you reckon on balance, left wing or right wing? And try to get them to say even one point being made was remotely right wing. And of course, by saying you're right wing, now it's sort of like, well, there is no right wing. It's only the ultra right. It's only the extreme right.
I think, look, for the benefit of American and Australian special friend, BBC is ABC is CNN is for Canadians. What's the Canadian one?
Don't know.
CBC, is it? Probably.
CBeebies.
CBeebies, yeah, that's it. That's what they watch in Canada. Well, they have to because they've been infantilized by Justin Bieber. Yeah, President Bieber. Have we put the world to rights?
Just checking my list.
Yes, check your list.
Check it twice.
Check the list.
Find out who's been naughty or nice. Can I briefly say about my wonderful crowning glory moment of being back at our old school running?
Oh, tell me, Dick. Tell me about this. Yes.
This Tuesday, both you and I were heavily into our cross country when we were at school.
Because we were shit at ball games.
Because we're shit at everything else.
We're not team players.
Any team sport, forget about it.
Why is that, Dick?
Because we're into the solitary sports.
What, wanking?
I was going to say that. I didn't think we were allowed to say it, but
well, it is
basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we liked our cross country. We're at school in Malvern, which has fantastic countryside to run in.
So it's got enormous hills.
Enormous
to run up
hills.
and down. We got good at that.
And the annual race, the Ledbury Run, starts in Ledbury on the other side of the Malvern Hills, runs 7 3/4 miles, and ends up over the hills, ends up in the school grounds.
Over the hills and far away.
Over the hills and far away. And I went back and reran it with the school. A grueling near 8 miles of ploughed fields, stiles, steep clay banks, river banks.
How was Shit Alley? Was it?
It was in full flood. It was shitty. It was slimy.
Did you have spikes?
No, I was in trail shoes. A new innovation.
Because I bought some spikes to do the leather 2 years ago when it was cancelled,
right.
or last year when it was cancelled, and I was going to run it with you this year, and then my doctor told me, don't exert yourself while you're curing yourself from Lyme disease.
And the ultimate exertion has to be the leather. But I met another old boy there on the day who was also foolishly running.
Who was that?
Jonathan Waterhouse.
I remember Waterhouse, yeah.
He was in the year between us, and because he was in a different house, I didn't particularly know him. We got on great.
Didn't he do art?
I don't know. Anyway, we ran the thing together, and we pretty much came bang in the middle of the whole school. We certainly didn't disgrace ourselves, and it was a beautiful sunny day after a dreadful start with wind and rain. The moment the race started, the sun came out, the wind disappeared, the rain stopped. It was fantastic. So I was back there again on Thursday to do a careers evening, to take part in a sort of like, they got various old boys to be there to talk to the kids about their profession. So I was talking to them about, being a graphic designer, basically saying, don't do this if you want to earn money, and talking about my really quite boring life.
That's what I say to people about journalism.
I was telling them, I was saying, my brother, when he gives this talk, he says, if you're thinking about being a journalist, I do urge you not to.
Totally. And then if they come back to me, I say, no, still don't.
Still don't. And then if you must. So that's what I was doing for art and design, basically. But these kids came into the class and they were buzzing. They were going, oh, that last talk, that was so good. That was amazing. And I was thinking, who have you just been to see? And they said, this guy, he was in the SAS. He was amazing. He does hostage negotiations, and he's been all around. Oh, how the hell am I going to compete with that? So I didn't, basically.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you were going to tell us that you'd stripped off or something.
Well, one of the kids in my last session had been the boy who won the leader that day. So we talked about the leader. Oh, and one of the girls was the second fastest. So we talked a bit about the leather and what a great thing it is, and how if you went to Malvern it was the thing you will talk about.
I hope it is. I hope it's not sodding cricket, because that was because I think Malvern thinks of itself a cricketing school. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I approve of. Well, I like the idea of cricket, but not.
I like the idea that Malvern is different enough and not up itself so much that it can have a solitary sport like cross country as being its thing.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice idea. I cling to that.
Well, you would cling to that, and I
Yeah,
would as well, because
yeah.
that was our sport.
That was our thing.
Yeah.
And it is unique to Malvern. So, any school can play cricket or rugby or what have you, but only Malvern has the leather.
Yeah, but other schools used
They
to
all
beat
have
us.
their own things,
Shrewsbury
yeah,
was
yeah.
pretty good at cross country. Who else was good at cross
Well,
country?
this Jonathan has has links to rugby, and they have the equivalent run that is quite flat, but all the old boys.
We've
take
got
place
the
as
hills.
well.
Not many schools
No,
have got.
having the hills is the
So
thing.
I think someone like Sedbergh might have hills, but that's more of a rugby school. They probably don't. Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to mention.
So basically, this podcast is going to peter out like it's just run an 8-mile cross country race.
Yeah, but it goes across the line with its head held high,
Does it?
with
Good.
pride.
Do you want to walk the dog?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Right. You listen to the Delingpod with me, James Delingpole, and my guest, Dick Delingpole. Another podcast next week, I guess, if I can get my act together. Thank you. Bye-bye.